Okay, so picture this. You're having a customer service nightmare. But instead of being stuck on hold forever, we're getting bounced around to a million different departments, you get to interact with, like, a super smart AI.
Right.
And this AI, it just seamlessly answers all your questions and analyzes data to predict problems before they even happen, and it gets you to the right person, like, every single time.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at some cutting-edge research from Salesforce AI Research.
Mm-hmm.
It's called CRMArena.
Yes.
And this isn't just some theoretical paper. They actually built a real-world simulation to see how well AI can handle the demands of, well, CRM.
Yeah, and what's really impressive is they didn't just like create a generic simulation. They actually modeled CRMArena after Salesforce's own service cloud schema.
Oh, wow.
So complete with 16 common objects like accounts, orders, cases, all that kind of stuff, and even those super helpful knowledge articles, and they're all interconnected just like in a real business.
So they basically built like a virtual company with all the data complexities and everything.
Exactly.
That's so cool. But I'm kind of curious, why go through all that trouble? Like, why not just test AI in a simple environment?
Well, because to really understand how AI is going to perform out there in the
Right.
messy real world,
Yeah.
you've got to test it in a messy real world setting, right? I mean, think about a business. It doesn't operate in isolation.
Right?
There are so many hidden factors that can influence everything. Customer behavior, employee performance, you name it.
Okay, so they've got the environment, they've got all this data, but what are these AI agents actually doing in CRMArena? Are they, like, just filing digital paperwork all day?
Not quite.
Okay, good.
They're actually tackling real CRM tasks based on 3 key personas: service manager, service agent, and service analyst. So imagine like different roles within a customer service department, each facing unique challenges.
Okay, all right, so break that down for me. What kinds of tasks would each persona be tackling?
All right, so a service manager, for example, they might need to quickly figure out, like, who's the agent with the fastest average handle time?
Okay, yeah.
Or how to route a new case to the right person
Hmm.
based on, the specifics of that case.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a service agent might be dealing with something like deciphering what a customer really means when they say they need help with their running shoes.
Oh, so like, it's like when you're talking to a chatbot and it asks you like 20 questions just to figure out if you need help with your Wi-Fi or your router or your actual internet service provider.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you've got the service analysts. They're looking at the bigger picture.
Okay.
They might be analyzing trends and case data to figure out, like what's the most common issue reported for a specific product, for instance.
Okay, so this is really starting to paint a clear picture here.
Mhm.
We've got this simulated CRM world, and they're throwing these very real-world challenges at these AI agents.
Mm.
We're seeing how they handle it. But, even with this very realistic structure, how do they make sure the data itself is believable?
Yeah.
Like the actual stuff that we're seeing every day in businesses.
That is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
They went beyond just mimicking the structure and introduced something called latent variables.
Latent variables.
Think of these as like hidden factors that influence how the data is actually generated in the real world.
Okay, give me an example. Like, how does that work?
Okay, so let's say they wanted to simulate how a customer's purchases might change based on, I don't know, the season or holidays. They could use a shopping habit variable, right?
Mm-hmm.
To make it more likely that, someone buys swimwear in the summer and then gifts around the holidays.
So they're creating data that actually reflects how people behave,
Yeah,
in the real world, not just a bunch of random numbers.
exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
And these latent variables, they help create that unpredictability, which is key, right? Because that's what the AI is going to face out there in the wild. No 2 customer interactions are exactly the same.
Right.
So the data's got to reflect that.
It's a smart approach.
Well,
But it makes me think about how challenging it must be to actually develop AI that can navigate all of these complexities.
for sure.
Did they test different types of AI brains, so to speak, to see how they measured up?
They did. They tested 3 different AI frameworks, each with varying levels of complexity: ACT, REACT, and function calling.
Okay.
ACT is the most straightforward. It's like giving the AI a task and letting it just ask questions of the CRM system until it thinks it has the answer.
So like a more advanced chatbot, but for a CRM?
You could think of it that way, yeah.
Okay, so what about React?
Now, React, it adds a layer of like thought to the process.
Okay.
So before taking any action, the AI has to actually think about what information it needs, and then it has to choose the right questions to ask.
Okay.
So it's not just like blindly firing off queries, it's trying to be more strategic.
I like that. I like that.
And then there's function calling.
Function calling. I'm guessing that involves giving the AI specific CRM tools.
Exactly. It's like handing the AI a toolbox filled with predefined functions designed for common CRM tasks.
Okay.
So instead of having to, figure out a complex query from scratch, the AI can just call a function like calculate average handle time, for example, and just get the info it needs right away.
Okay, that's pretty clever. So you have these different AI frameworks. They're tackling real CRM tasks. We've got this incredibly realistic simulated environment. I'm dying to know, how did they perform?
Oh.
Was it all smooth sailing? Were there any surprises?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Even with all this sophisticated setup and cutting-edge AI, the results were, well, far from what many might expect.
Oh, this is where it gets good. What kind of challenges did they encounter?
Well, hold on to your hats, because even the most advanced AI agents using the fanciest frameworks struggled to consistently complete these seemingly simple tasks.
Wait, really? Give me some numbers. Like, how much are we talking here?
The best performer using the React framework and a really top-tier large language model could only successfully complete about 38% of the tasks.
38%. That's a
Yeah.
lot lower than I would have guessed.
Right.
I thought AI was supposed to be, intelligent. What happened?
That is the million-dollar question, and one that Salesforce researchers are really digging into.
Okay.
And what's interesting is that simply handing AI more tools, like those in function calling, didn't always lead to better performance.
Wait, really?
In some cases, it actually made things worse.
Now that's a head scratcher. Why would giving an AI more tools make it perform worse? That seems completely counterintuitive.
It seems that for weaker AI, having access to all those functions without a true understanding of like when and how to use them effectively, it can actually lead them down the wrong path.
Okay, yeah.
It's a bit like giving someone a map and a compass,
Right.
but no real understanding of navigation.
Okay, yeah.
They might wander even further off course.
Okay, that analogy makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So it really highlights that AI needs more than just the right tools. It needs like a deeper understanding of how those tools work and when to apply them in different situations. It needs, dare I say, a bit more intelligence. But before we get into that, let's look at how those different brains that we talked about,
Yeah.
how did those perform? Did those big, expensive models just like blow the competition out of the water?
Yeah.
Or is the playing field a bit more level than we think?
That is a great question, and one that might just surprise you. To find out the answer, well, you'll have to stay tuned for part 2 of our deep dive into CRMArena.
Okay, so we're back, and I'm ready to unpack this AI brain showdown. Last time, we left off with a cliffhanger. How did those different AI models actually perform in CRMArena?
Yeah.
Did the big, expensive commercial models just totally dominate, or was it a closer race than we might think?
That is the question I was wondering, too. They tested a whole range of models from those heavy hitters like GPT-4 to even, open source models like Llama. And what they discovered is actually pretty fascinating. The performance gap between these different types of models, it's shrinking.
Hold on. You're telling me that those free open source models are catching up to the big leagues?
Yeah, in many cases they are. While GPT-4 still kind of took the crown for overall performance, those open source models were right there, hot on its heels.
Wow.
It really shows you just how much the open source AI community is pushing the boundaries.
Yeah.
And it's making this powerful technology so much more accessible.
That's incredibly exciting. But even if they're closing the gap in terms of performance, don't those commercial models still have like a massive advantage just because of all the resources and data behind them?
That's a common assumption.
Yeah.
And it's true that those big commercial models have a lot of firepower, for sure.
Right.
But one of the takeaways from this research is that bigger isn't always better.
Okay.
Remember we were talking about how giving those weaker AI agents more tools sometimes made them perform worse? Right, yeah, like too many cooks in the kitchen kind of thing.
Exactly. And it turns out that kind of a similar thing can happen with these large language models. The researchers actually found that GPT-4, while super capable, was also the most cost-effective solution.
Interesting. So even though it might be more expensive to run, it ultimately gets the job done faster and with fewer attempts.
Yeah.
So it's more efficient in the long run.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It requires less processing power, fewer steps to successfully complete a task,
Okay.
which makes it, overall, more cost-effective.
That's really interesting. It really challenges that assumption that the more complex and the more resource-intensive AI is always better.
Right.
So it's not just about brute force. It's
Yeah.
about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Okay, but going back to those different AI frameworks, act, react, function calling,
Yeah.
did any of them stand out as being particularly well suited for these CRM tasks?
Well, function calling generally produced, I'd say, the best results, particularly when you pair it with those really strong models.
Okay, but the researchers found there's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
In fact, they stumbled upon a pretty unexpected finding when they looked at the consistency of the AI agents.
Consistency. What does that mean in this context?
Well, they wanted to see how reliable these AI agents were across multiple attempts at the same task.
Okay. Yeah.
Because in the real world, you don't want an AI that gets it right once and
Uh,
then totally bombs the next time.
That would be a customer service nightmare.
Exactly.
So what did they find?
Well, they ran each AI agent through the same task multiple times, and they tracked, how often it was able to successfully complete it.
Mhm.
And what they found was all three frameworks showed a pretty similar decline in consistency as the number of attempts increased.
So none of them were truly reliable yet.
It seems that way. Even those top-performing AI agents, using the most advanced frameworks, couldn't really guarantee those consistent results. And this kind of highlights that there's still a lot of work to be done in making these AI agents more robust, more reliable. If we want to really trust them out there in the real world, they need to be consistently good, not just, brilliant sometimes.
Yeah, that's a great point. This is really thought-provoking because it points to that fact that we need to be thinking not just about what AI can do, but also about how consistently and reliably it can perform. But I want to kind of shift gears for a moment.
Okay.
This research wasn't just about putting AI agents to the test, right?
Right.
Didn't they also create, some valuable tools that other researchers could use?
They did. And this is where CRMArena really stands out as a contribution to the broader AI research community.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
What did they create and why is it important?
Well, first and foremost, they developed a super sophisticated data generation pipeline.
Yep.
And this pipeline can produce incredibly diverse and realistic CRM data. And here's the best part. They made this pipeline open source.
So anybody can use it.
That's right. Researchers can now use this pipeline to generate their own CRM data sets to, test new AI models and algorithms.
Yeah.
It's a total game changer. It provides this common, realistic benchmark for everyone to work with.
This is huge. It's like creating a shared language for all the researchers working in this CRM space. And that allows for more meaningful comparisons and collaborations. Right?
Absolutely. And that's not all. They also released the entire CRMArena benchmark itself.
Wow.
Including the simulated Salesforce environment and every single evaluation tool that they use.
So other researchers can basically step right into the same sandbox and test their own AI agents, see how their creations stack up against the competition.
Exactly. This level of open access is really going to accelerate the pace of research.
Yeah.
Instead of everyone having to build their own little testing environments from scratch, they can just build on this foundation.
Yeah.
Plus, CRMArena, it's designed to be super extensible. Researchers can adapt it to, other industries, business processes beyond CRM.
So this isn't just about customer service. It's about pushing the boundaries of how we can use AI across, all sorts of business functions.
Precisely.
Yeah.
That's what makes this research so significant. It's about understanding the immense potential, but also, those current limitations of AI.
Yeah.
And using that knowledge to kind of pave the way for, those truly groundbreaking advancements.
This has been an incredible journey so far.
Yeah.
We've talked about the challenges of creating those realistic CRM environments, that surprising performance of the open source models,
Yeah.
and that need for AI to be not only intelligent, but also reliable. But we still haven't tackled the why.
Right.
Earlier, you mentioned that the researchers were digging into those reasons why these AI agents struggled, even with all the tools and resources available.
Yeah.
So what do they find? What are some of the underlying causes of these limitations?
You've hit the nail on the head. That's the real heart of the matter.
Mm-hmm.
And it leads us into the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Get ready to explore the limitations of AI and the potential solutions that might just revolutionize how we interact with this powerful technology.
All right, we're back for the final part of our CRMArena journey, and I am ready to get to the bottom of this AI mystery.
Yes.
We've talked about the setup, the different AI models, the frameworks,
Hmm.
but now I want to understand why, even with the most advanced AI,
Right.
they still struggled with what seemed like fairly straightforward tasks.
It's a question that, researchers are really grappling with.
Yeah.
One key insight that emerged from this study was that AI, it often lacks that deeper understanding and reasoning ability, that thing that we humans kind of take for granted.
Yeah.
So they might be great at parsing language, executing queries,
Hmm.
but they can stumble when it comes to things like context, nuance, and connecting the dots.
So it's almost like they're missing that common sense element that we as humans just kind of instinctively apply.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
Remember that task where the AI had to figure out which specific product a customer was talking about, like those running shoes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even with access to the customer's complete order history and all the product details, the AI still had trouble consistently identifying the right item.
So it's almost as if it had all the pieces of the puzzle, but it couldn't quite figure out how to put them all together.
Exactly. It really highlights a very fundamental challenge for AI. It's not just about having access to all the data, it's about understanding what that data means
Right.
in a specific context
Hmm.
and how it all relates back to the task at hand.
Okay. This makes me think about that whole debate about AI sentience.
Mm-hmm.
We often get caught up in whether or not AI can think like a human.
Right.
But maybe the real question is, can it understand like a human?
That's a really profound observation, and it really gets to the heart of the matter. AI can process information at an incredible speed,
Yeah.
but it still struggles with that deep intuitive understanding that allows us humans to navigate the complexities of the real world. It's kind of like the difference between knowing the definition of a word
Hmm.
and truly understanding all of its nuances and implications.
Okay, so this lack of deeper understanding, that's one major hurdle. What other limitations did the researchers uncover?
Another really significant finding is that current AI models often struggle with something called multi-hop reasoning.
Multi-hop reasoning.
It's the ability to break down a complex task into smaller steps
Yeah.
and then logically work through those steps in sequence.
Okay, can you give me an example of what that might look like in a CRM scenario?
Absolutely. So imagine a task where the AI needs to identify the agent with the shortest average handle time,
Mm-hmm.
but only for cases related to a specific product and within a certain time period.
Okay.
It sounds pretty simple,
Yeah.
but it actually requires multiple steps of reasoning.
It sounds like a mental juggling act.
Yeah.
I can see how that might be a roadblock for AI.
Exactly. The AI would need to first identify all the cases that are related to that specific product, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they need to filter those cases to only include those within the defined time frame.
Okay, yeah.
And then finally, it would need to calculate that average handle time for each agent, but based on those filtered cases.
Right.
And then finally, identify the one with the shortest time.
Yeah.
That's a lot for current AI models to handle.
Right, right. This is all making a lot of sense now. We've been so focused on all the advancements in AI that we sometimes overlook these areas where it's still falling short.
And that's precisely why research like CRMArena is so valuable.
Mm.
It's not about, dismissing the incredible progress that's been made. It's about understanding the limitations so we can develop, better and more robust solutions
Mhm.
for the future.
So we've identified some of those key limitations, this
Mm.
lack of deep understanding, the
Mhm.
challenges of this multi-hop reasoning.
Yeah.
But what are the potential solutions? Is there anything on the horizon that gives you hope for the future of AI in CRM?
Oh, there are several really exciting avenues being explored right now.
Okay.
One promising area is the development of neurosymbolic AI,
Neurosymbolic AI.
which combines the strengths of deep learning, that's known for pattern recognition, data processing,
Mm-hmm.
and then symbolic AI,
Okay.
which focuses on logical reasoning and knowledge representation.
So it's like a powerful combination.
Yeah.
What could that achieve in the CRM space?
Well, by incorporating symbolic knowledge into these systems, we can equip them with a much deeper understanding of concepts and relationships,
Mm.
which could be a game changer for handling tasks that require, that common sense element or, multi-hop reasoning.
That's fascinating. It's almost like giving AI a foundational understanding of the world,
Mm-hmm.
not just a mountain of data to sift through.
Exactly. And another really promising area is the development of explainable AI or XAI.
Explainable AI.
Yes.
That sounds intriguing. Tell me more.
Well, one of the big challenges with AI right now is it often operates as like a black box.
Right.
We feed in all this data, it spits out results, but we don't always understand how it arrived at those results.
Yeah.
And that lack of transparency can make it really hard to trust AI, especially when it comes to decisions that have, potentially significant consequences.
Right. Especially in something like customer service where trust and transparency are like
Yeah.
so important.
Yes.
You don't want an AI making decisions it can't explain.
You hit the nail on the head. The goal of XAI is to develop systems that not only provide accurate results, but can also explain like their reasoning process in a way that we humans can understand.
Yeah.
It's about making AI more transparent,
Right.
more accountable, which is super crucial for building that trust and making sure it's used ethically and responsibly.
These are some really exciting advancements. But how far off are we from actually seeing these solutions implemented in real-world CRM systems?
Yeah.
Are we talking years, decades?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's no easy answer. AI is evolving at an incredible pace, but these are complex challenges.
Yeah.
They require those really fundamental breakthroughs. It's likely that we'll see those incremental improvements over the coming years.
Okay.
With AI gradually taking on more and more complex tasks within CRM, it's not going to be an overnight transformation.
Well, even though it might not happen overnight, I'm feeling a lot more optimistic about the future of AI in CRM after this deep dive.
Yeah, me too.
We've explored the limitations,
Right.
but we've also seen that incredible potential and those brilliant minds working to overcome these challenges.
I completely agree. This research from Salesforce is kind of like a wake-up call. It reminds us to be realistic about those current capabilities of AI,
Yeah,
while also inspiring us to, push the boundaries and be a part of the solution.
exactly. Whether we're business leaders, developers, or simply curious individuals, we all have a role to play in, shaping the future of AI. And who knows, maybe one of our listeners will be the one to crack the code and develop that truly intelligent and reliable and ethical AI that we've all been dreaming of. This has been The Deep Dive, signing off.